Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Air Gunners, and today on this box to bench we have the Diana XR200 in 30 cal. This is really exciting. Stay tuned. So we're on a box to bench video, which means we're going to take it out of the box and as quick as we can get over to the bench so we can see how it shoots, because I know that's what's important to you. I do think it's worth mentioning that the box that this one comes in is really quite nice. Heavy duty plastic with good eggshell foam. So that's definitely one that we'll be keeping around because I'm sure it's going to see use down the road. But there's a lot of features on this rifle. So let's talk about it. This is the green, I don't know, we'll call it plastic version. It has a polymer stock, feels high quality. There's no hollow sound or feel to it. You have rubber butt pad, adjustable cheek riser, so from all the way down to all the way, well, in fact out, but all the way up. You have quite a bit of adjustment there. Should be no problem finding a comfortable cheek weld. On the stock itself, they have rubberized checkered insets here at the grip, and I'm finding this comfortable for a thumbs up or a thumb wraparound, but I think I'll be shooting this thumb up. You have cocking handle here, very smooth, and you can flip it over and go lefty if you want. One of the things that's exciting to me about this rifle is something that gets missed a lot. They've engineered it with a very wide breech. And the reason that's important is they're billing this as a rifle that you can do some changing on, which is something completely new for Diana. But I've looked at the production manual, and it actually comes with a manual that will walk you through a caliber change. So this width, especially I'm thinking in 22 caliber, is going to allow you to use a longer projectile than we're typically used to. So what longer projectiles have the potential to mean is, if they shoot well, higher ballistic coefficients. So they've kind of widened that out a little bit, and I'm going to get back to this guy. You might have seen me pull that out. I'm going to get back to that in just a minute. The magazine space in here has magnets on it, and that's going to help you locate either the magazine. You know what? We're going to talk about this right now. Okay, so in the box, you get a really typical in 30 cal, I think this is an 8-shot magazine, but we're all familiar with these magazines. If you're not, basically you're going to wind the lid, would that be counterclockwise, turn it over, drop a pellet in skirt first, and then from the front you're going to be able to drop in the other 7 pellets head first, and then that all buttons up like that and it slides into the side of the rifle. Now there's a spring in there. It's a rotary magazine. It's like a drum, and we're talking about shooting lead projectiles. So for some of us, what we've noticed is when you're shooting a magazine, in order to have a hard enough push from the spring to move our pellets around so we can shoot them, sometimes that spring might squish that skirt just a little bit, and as a result of that, you're going to get some inaccuracies because that skirt going into the breech is now imperfect. So some people like to do single shot loading or single loading, right? Diana has brought us this guy. It looks like a fun size Three Musketeers or Milky Way bar with 2 holes in it. What this does is it goes into the breech, slides in like that. The magnet sucks it into space, not going to fall out. I push forward, I shoot that pellet. There's been no side spring torsion or anything like that. I pop the bolt back, I push this over to the second space, I go forward, I shoot that. I push another pellet in there, I open this, I push it over, I load that, I put another pellet in, I shoot, I load, I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Basically, you get a lot of the benefits of magazine loading, meaning you always have a follow-up shot ready. You have ease of loading because all you have to do really is push a pellet in from the backside and the gun takes care of the rest, but none of the potential downside of shooting with a magazine where you have that force possibly denting the skirts on your pellets. Pretty cool idea. It has magnets on the bottom, so those index with the magnets in the breech, and basically you give it a little push and it kind of jumps to the next spot. You give it a little push from the other side and it goes back over. Pretty cool stuff. You have regulator pressure right here, and on this side you have a power adjuster. Moving forward, you get another section of this rubberized grip, and then on the bottom, Picatinny rail so you can mount a bipod. Probably other people would say a laser sight torch, whatever. Honestly, you got a Picatinny rail right here. That's for a bipod, my book. Air cylinder, Foster fitting. You have a metal cover for that. Don't lose it. It's a nice heavy item. Okay, threading is really clean on it. Out front, you have half UNF threads. So if you want to put a Donnie FL or whatever your favorite moderator is on there, you can. Barrel band, and then this is worth talking about. A lot of air guns wind up putting your air gauge on the front. I understand why they do it. I think it's probably one of the more economical ways to do something like that. And it always weirds everybody out when you have to sort of look down the barrel to see how much air is in your gun. Diana has done us one better on this. And what they've come up with is this gauge that sits between the fill and the tube. It has your brass gauge right there, and right now as it's set up, it is set up for a right-handed shooter. But you can, with the gun degassed, pivot this around. So if you're a left-handed shooter, if you've switched the bolt, charging handle rather, over for a left-handed shooter, you can also move this around. So while you're on the gun, on the bench, you're shooting. As I look down the barrel, I can actually see the air gauge. It's color coded so that you really don't have to read it exactly. You just have to know where it is within the range, and you can make decisions about when it's time to air up. Pretty cool feature, and like I said, just like the charging handle, it can move to side, so it's in the right place for you. I didn't mention when we were back here, you have a manual and fully resettable safety. Very positive, not too loud. Forward is safe and back is fire, and that, along with your charging handle, can be switched to the other side for a left-handed shooter. So I'll let you in on a little secret. I couldn't resist. I dry fired it a couple of times right after I got it out of the box. I just wanted to see what that trigger was like. And I had read in the manual that they were talking about this just really low trigger weight. This trigger is really set up nice. So I'm going to pause this just for a second. Normally I'd kind of do this in different order, but I'm going to go and I'm going to get my trigger scale, and we're going to give you that trigger information right away because it's really something. So hold on just a second. Okay, got the trigger gauge. Make sure she's on fire. .9 ounces. 4.9 ounces. The cocking is nice and smooth. It's one steady pull back. There's no grittiness to it, nothing like that. 5.6 ounces. 4.7 ounces. God, am I reading this thing right? Am I using it right? 4.7, 4.8, 5. Wow. Wow. That's a really light trigger. And actually, you can get this based on the manual with an Olympic style barrel trigger in it. This is what they consider the hunting trigger. And, you know, I've shot some air guns, shot some powder burners as well, where the heft, if you will, of the trigger pull has been enough to negatively impact accuracy. So definitely a good start to what I hope will be some good work on the targets. So let's get over to the bench and let's get you guys some chronograph numbers. So we are on the bench. I've put an Element Optics Helix 6-24 on here. The receiver does have dovetail mounts, so I've got a set of FX No Limit dovetail mounts, keeping the two things together. And I have loaded the magazine up with a brand new tin, well, not the whole tin obviously, but pellets from a brand new tin of JSB 44 grain 30 cal pellets. I've got lab radar set up, so we are going to get some velocity data at the muzzle. Magazine goes in super slick, snaps right into place, and that pellet just feeds in beautifully. So let's take a couple shots and see where she is. .715 feet per second. And that's pretty loud. Stand by. Okay, so that had a little bit of a bark to it. Remember, this is the unshrouded 30 cal barrel, so a little moderation seems like it's in order. I've put a Donnie FL Fat Boy 2.0 on there, and we'll see if that doesn't just take off the edge a little bit. First shot was 715 feet per second. That's definitely a little friendlier. Second shot was 715 feet per second. Third shot was 715 feet per second. Fourth shot was 716. So, you know, a little variation there. .715. 7/16. 7/16. 7/16. And that's one magazine. Wow. Wow. Okay, so it's not the most powerful 30 caliber air gun on the planet, but with a trigger that is about a half a pound and 8 shots, where the 8-shot variation is 2 feet per second, I gotta tell you, I'm expecting some pretty good things out of the accuracy. So I am gonna set up a target, and I'm gonna get this zeroed because I know about where it was hitting, but we're not at a 0 point. And let's get a 30-yard group and see if all that accuracy, well, all that German engineering turns into something that's really quite accurate. So stay tuned. Camera is set up downrange. We're ready to go here. Fresh magazine. We're going to do full magazine and see how the accuracy is at 30 yards. In terms of how I'm shooting, as I mentioned before, I have an Element Optics 6-24 helix. I am shooting at right around 12 power. I've got an Accutac bipod out front on the pick rail, and I am using a rear bag rest. I've got the cheek piece up just a little bit to give me good, well, set me up to see through the scope. No limit rings. So, yeah, let's shoot some targets. Well, that's 8 rounds, and my guess is, because you've already seen them, that was incredibly boring because they are, well, I'm going to go closer and let's take a look. All right, so we're going to head out to the 30. You can see we've got just a little bit of start and stop wind out here. We've had a couple of days of wind and fairly decent temperatures, which has led to some melting, and everything's pretty icy. So here we go. See the target box set up there. And you've got 8 rounds. Okay. Trigger finger. Pretty sweet. I'll take that every day. Well, if you've made it to this point in the video, let me say thank you. Appreciate everybody who takes the time to watch, and you know, the reason we do the videos is to help you make decisions about the things that you might want to get for yourself, or you know, maybe you just want to know more about what's out there. So, what do I think about the XR200? Well, let's start with the good stuff, okay? You have a seriously good trigger. Very light and super easy to get to know and therefore take accurate shots. Honestly, it's a light enough trigger that if you've got people who are new to shooting, you might wind up having them do some dry firing, which of course isn't a problem at all with PCPs, but you might want to have them dry fire a couple times to get used to the trigger, because I think a lot of people are going to grab it and it's going to go off because they're not used to something that's that light. So really good trigger. The power plant inside it is ridiculously consistent. Oh my. I mean, first 8-shot group is all within, you know, like 2, the whole group. I shot a second shot, which you guys saw on target, and I then took another shot after that, and we'd only dropped down to 714. So even within that, another magazine, I was really only outside by like another 2. So you got 2 full magazines, really consistent. The valving and the regulator is doing the job. The barrel is doing its job as well, and what you're left with is an accurate gun. That's under a 1/2 inch. I'll do a quick analysis on it, but I think that's going to measure out at under a 1/2 inch at 30 yards is a solid group, and I have every expectation that this will perform at even longer distances. So I'm looking forward to spending a little bit more time diving into that and then bringing you some additional results that way. I'll admit it, I couldn't resist. I was done filming. I was getting ready to put everything away. I looked across the bench and the Know Your Limits plate rack was just staring at me 45 yards away. And I thought to myself, I gotta see how far I can run it. So here are those results. The stuff that's got me really excited moving forward is, you know, this is Diana's first attempt, I guess you'd say, at an entirely German-built rifle. They're not outsourcing parts anywhere. They're making this all in-house, and they're making it so it can be caliber changeable. So right now she's set up in 30 cal, but there's no reason why you can't get the barrel kits and take it down to 177 if that's what you want later on. So they've seen other companies, I think, and I'm not saying they're copying. I'm saying this is something that's happening in the industry. A lot more companies are saying, yeah, we could make one rifle that could fill a couple of niches, and they're getting in the game with that too, which is pretty cool. So great trigger, super consistent in terms of the power plant, good barrel, a couple of nice touch features. I'm right-handed, and to be honest, you know, the issues of those of you who are left-handed are not the first things I'm thinking about, but I think they've done a really nice job of setting up an air gun that it doesn't matter whether you're left or right-handed, the gun works for you. And kudos to them for doing that. You can swap the bolt, you can swap the safety, you can swap where the air gauge is so that you can keep track of where your pressure is and make decisions about when it's time to refill. So I mean, they pretty much thought of everything that way. If I was going to say, you know, maybe you could change this, it's the stock. This is a good stock. It's got stippling and grip where you need it. The cheek piece, you absolutely need to be able to adjust the cheek piece. The butt pad, it's comfortable. It shoulders really well. You go right on target, exactly the way a rifle should. And there are no like mold marks or anything like that. It's very smooth. It is in this 30 cal trim a little bit light, and the balance of the rifle therefore is just a little bit forward. I look at this, they've done such a good job on it, and I think, I wonder if this would ever get the same kind of treatment that the Model 54 Air King gets. If you haven't seen that, maybe I'll throw a picture up. It's their like top tier side lever action spring gun. It's a beautiful, they do a red laminate in that, but I'm imagining this in a laminate stock. That would be sweet. So there's nothing wrong with the stock as it is. It's very functional. It has good feel to it. I think about the future of what we might see from the XR200, and I think there's going to be some pretty cool stuff coming down the line with this. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope that there's going to be the cool stuff I want. Let's put it that way. Before I go and let you go, I do want to touch base on the manuals. The box contains 3, it's like you get 3 paperbacks. This is something that other manufacturers could probably take note of. Now, they're written in a number of different languages. That's not what I'm worried about. You've got English, Deutsch, French, and Spanish. That's all cool, but you have a really well written, good explanation, kind of general overview of how do you do things in the manual, and honestly, it's well written. But you also get a complete manual on how to convert to different calibers, and again, it's thorough and it's well written. So you want to know how to do it. Everything you need to know is concisely written into a manual. And then you also get a maintenance manual, like how do I do some of the things that I might need to do. And this is like, this tells you how to maintain and remove the air cylinder if you would ever need to, or how to take the stock out, or how to replace the valve tappet. If you ever had to replace the striker spring for any reason, they're giving you the instructions, well written, laid out, and it's actually I've thrown away a lot of airgun manuals because there's really nothing in there that I'm ever going to need, want, or use at any point in time. I would say the only downside of this is now I'm going to have to find a spot on the bookshelf to keep them safe so I don't lose them, because there's actually useful and on certain circumstances necessary information in there. So again, good on Diana for producing something that is actually useful. Well, folks, I think that's it for this box. Oh, no, one more thing. So I shot that group over the chronograph for you. Really tight spread. Super impressed by that. Then I shot an 8-round. You guys saw that. I did put another round over the chronograph, 714 feet per second. And just because there might be a question about it, I'll answer this. The manufacturer specs for the 30 caliber, they say 721 feet per second is what you should expect to see. That's within, it's under 10 from what I was seeing. I'm going to say they're accurate in their write-up on that. That's close enough that there's just variations in things that they're not overhyping the capabilities of this gun. But after I shot, so a total of 16, 2 magazines, I shot another one, was still at 714. So even if you wanted to say like, oh, well, it dropped. Yeah, it dropped 2, right? Which I would just say is not really much of a drop. I shot another 8 rounds, and I was still getting consistent point of impact, but the velocity did start dropping it there. So if your question is, how many shots per fill am I getting on a 200 bar fill? I'm going to tell you a solid 2 magazines. Probably if you were using the double loader, probably in the neighborhood of 20 shots. Certainly 17 shots. I know that, I verified that. But I would guess you're probably getting about 20 shots per fill, and then it's time to top up. If you're doing competition, no problem. That's going to work out for you because you're going to be in a position where you can refill. And if you're out hunting, unless you're in a really fast and furious ratting session or something like that, that's probably not a bad, 2 magazines isn't a bad top-off point. By the way, if you are in a fast and furious ratting session, you're probably not shooting 30 cal. You're probably in 177, and I don't know what the shots per fill are on 177, but it's going to be more than 2 mags. So, yeah, really impressed with the XR200, and we will be coming back for a second round video where we get it out in the field, play with it a little bit more, really get to know it, stretch out its legs. But I am curious to know if there's anything in that second video that you would like to see us do or to know about. So if you'll put that in the comments, I will see what I can do as far as working that into our next video on this rifle. So thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch. And if you have an inclination to do so, giving us that thumbs up, subscribing, making comments, sharing the video with anybody you think might be interested, or maybe to Facebook groups or whatever that you pay attention to. That all really helps the channel, and I greatly appreciate it when you take the time to do that. So until the next one, everybody, shoot safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you around. So here's the Know Your Limits rig. You just saw me clear this at 45 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no problem. Number 8, I had to take a second shot on. Just blew by it the first time, but I'll tell you what, 45-yard accuracy when you're hitting these guys. That's pretty good.